The gavel thuds against the hardwood with a crisp crack that quiets the whole courtroom. The reverberation hangs in the air like thunder rumbling across a desert horizon. All eyes are on the bench, where the judge puts on his glasses, his expression stern but impassive. This is not another case of lawyers squabbling over the law. This is the day the truth about the Brown family finally comes out. Christine fidgets in her chair, her fingers wrapped tightly around the tabletop to the point where her knuckles whiten. She has hidden her hurt for years, swallowed her fears, attempted to maintain the family unit for the sake of her children. Yet here, seated in this courtroom, something in her toughens. For the first time, she believes that maybe, just maybe, her voice will count. Next to her, Janelle leans in, her eyes fixed on Kody. She doesn't say anything, but her eyes do. They blaze with betrayal, with wrath, with decades of sacrifice that now seem for nothing. She stood by him through thick and thin, but today she's here to demonstrate that loyalty isn't necessarily blindness. On the other side of the room, Kody sits with Robyn beside him. His jaw is clenched, his hair rumpled as if he's been awake all night, yet his pride remains unbroken. Robyn holds her head down, a tissue squeezed in her shaking hands. Her tears are genuine, but whether they are for love, fear, or guilt, no one knows. The bailiff speaks the case. Christine Brown and Janelle Brown against Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. The words rest heavy in the air, cutting through years of polygamous promises, broken vows, and stolen secrets. The attorney for the wives rises. Composed, measured, and deliberate. He starts, "Your Honor, today is not about jealousy or failed love. This case is about truth. For many years, these women thought they were wedded to Kody Brown. Spiritually, emotionally, financially, they gave it their all. But what they didn't know, what was kept from them, was that only one marriage ever existed. Only one wife was ever recognized in the eyes of the law. And that wife was Robyn." A collective gasp shudders through the courtroom. Even those who had watched the drama of the family on TV could not have imagined the betrayal revealed in those words. Christine closes her eyes for a moment, bracing herself against the surge of recollections, the giving up, the years of being second choice, the nights spent speculating why she never felt safe. Now she knows. Kody leans forward, his lips compressing into a thin line. His lawyer objects swiftly, but the judge permits the remark to stand. Robyn dabs at her eyes, whispering something in Kody's ear that only he can hear. Christine speaks out of the silence. Though not yet formally called to testify, she moves toward the microphone. "We gave him our lives," she whispers, her voice shaking. "And the whole time he was only protecting one person, her." She points a trembling finger toward Robyn, whose face turns fiery red. And here, you can practically sense the audience leaning forward, because this is not just about a single marriage, it's about secrets building for years just waiting to blow over. The judge bangs the gavel again. "Mrs. Brown, you'll get your time." "Wait, please." But the damage is done. The tension thickens until it seems as if the walls themselves are pushing in on us. The attorney for the wives goes on, setting the stage for the case. He describes how Christine and Janelle sacrificed in their finances for decades, having children, working 2 jobs, investing their savings in family businesses, while all the legal rights of marriage accrued to Robyn. Healthcare, property rights, inheritance, all the things a wife would have after years of loyalty, were taken away from Christine, Janelle, and Meri. And Meri, she sits quietly in the back of the courtroom, her face white. She hasn't signed on to the lawsuit, technically, but she's all in. She knows better than anyone else what it's like to feel disposable, to be treated as a placeholder instead of a partner. Because the truth of this case isn't about money. It's about betrayal, and betrayal is more painful than any hurt that money can fix. The defense stands. Kody's attorney, slicing, confident, maintains that the case is unfounded. These women were aware of the nature of their relationships. They participated voluntarily. There was no deceit, only trust. And now years later, due to hurt feelings, they want to rewrite history. The courtroom whispers, "Hurts feelings." The words cut into Christine like a slap. She looks at Janelle, who slowly nods, jaw clamped. They've waited too long for this moment to be blown off as hurt feelings. The judge demands order, but the tension is already palpable. The crowd, reporters, relatives, curious passers-by, can feel that they are just getting started. The room is heavy with unstated accusations and unseen realities. Christine pictures her children at home, watching news flashes, asking why their mother is so battered but so determined. She recalls all those moments when she said to herself it was not worth the battle. And now here she is, ready to battle until the end. Robyn finally lifts her head. Her voice is soft but firm. "I never asked for this," she states, sobbing. "I never wanted to be the sole legal wife. It was Kody's choice, not mine." All eyes whip to Kody. His face flushes, his fists clench. He inches in toward the microphone, his tone low but acerbic. "That's not true, Robyn. Don't spin this." Whispers break out in the room. The first crack in their solid defense has been made, and Christine sees it in an instant. Her lips crease into the slightest smile. For once, it isn't merely her word against his. And in that moment, the audience can sense it. The case isn't just beginning, it's already unraveling. The judge sighs heavily, his eyes clearly seeing the tempest brewing before him. "We will continue with opening testimonies tomorrow morning." Court is adjourned. The gavel falls once more, and the sound echoes like a slamming door on decades of deception. Christine exhales, her shoulders sagging a little. She is not silly. She realizes this fight will be long, painful, and ugly. But as she gets up to go, she has a feeling she has not had in years: hope. The wives file out of the courtroom in tandem, their steps deliberate, their faces serious. Behind them, Robyn grips Kody's arm, speaking urgently, but his eyes are on the floor, stormy and dark. The corridor outside is abuzz with reporters yelling questions, camera lights flashing. Christine hesitates, then addresses the cameras. Her voice is firm, steady, and unwavering. "We just want the truth. That's all." Her words reverberate across front pages, social media accounts, and TV screens. But within the courthouse, down in the belly of the trial, the truth is far more perilous than anyone can imagine. For sometimes, when the truth is revealed, it lays waste to everything it encounters. The courthouse the following morning is like a fortress. The sun rises early and bounces off its glass doors as crowds of people cluster on the steps, holding coffee mugs, grasping microphones, waiting to see what comes next in the Brown family drama. The courtroom inside is colder than it was yesterday. Perhaps it's the weight of expectation. Perhaps it's the reality bearing down on all who come inside. Christine sits at the plaintiff's table, her back straight, her face firm. She appears less like the woman who used to smile nicely for reality TV shows and more like a mother on a mission. Next to her, Janelle is tranquil but uninterpretable, her eyes moving over papers, her fingers drumming softly against the table. These two women understand today is more important than anything that has preceded. Today, their voices will be heard. Kody arrives with Robyn at his elbow, her hand clutching his arm tightly. He's wearing a suit of sorts, if clothes are enough to be commanding. But there's a tick in his jaw, a rolling of his shoulders, even as he stands tall. He's not boss of anything anymore, and that realization gnaws at him. The judge enters, his dark robe billowing as he assumes the bench. Court is now in session, the bailiff states. The whispers fade, and a silence descends upon the room like a shadow. Christina's attorney stands up. His tone is unhurried, even, but contains an undertone of soft flame. "Your Honor, we start today with evidence that will provide the premise for this case. Evidence that discloses not only choices made, but lives changed, safety taken, and promises broken." Christine is summoned to the witness stand. She approaches slowly, her heels clicking deliberately across the shiny floor. As she sits, her hands clasp in her lap, shaking faintly. She catches her breath, glances at her children sitting behind her, and then addresses the jury. "Mrs. Brown," the lawyer starts, "can you tell us, in your own words, what you learned about your marriage?" Christina's voice trembles at the beginning, but later stabilizes. "I felt like I was married. For more than 2 decades, I felt I was Kody's wife, not only in heart, but in all ways that count. I raised kids with him. I worked, I sacrificed. And then, I discovered that I was never actually married to him. That the only woman who ever enjoyed that security, that recognition, was Robyn." There is a silence that descends on the courtroom. The words linger in the air, mixed with sadness and accusation. Christine fights back tears, but her voice hardens. "It wasn't love. It was about being disposable. And I will not let my children think that I did not count." And here, the audience receives the hurt, for this is not merely the story of Christine, it's each individual's fear of being deceived by the person they trusted most. The attorney nods, moving slowly. "When did you find out this truth?" Christine swallows. It was after Robyn joined the family. Kody explained to us it was required for adoption, that it was the only way to protect her children. But what he never explained was that once he had legally married her, it left the rest of us, me, Janelle, Meri, with nothing. No protections, no rights, no security. We weren't wives anymore. We were placeholders. Gasps circulate through the crowd. Even those who believed they were familiar with the family's history from television hadn't heard it presented so starkly. Kody fidgets uncomfortably, his attorney writing furiously. Robyn lowers her head, tears dripping onto the surface. The judge leans forward. Brown, you will have your opportunity to respond. For now, the witness will proceed. Christina's attorney tones down his voice. Christine, how did this impact you emotionally? She takes a breath, her voice cracking. It shattered me. Every time I smiled in front of the cameras, every time I told my children their family was okay, I was lying to them because inside, I knew something was amiss. I felt like a visitor in my own marriage. I felt as though I didn't count. One of her daughters sits behind her, crying. The jury sees. Everyone sees. And at that moment, you can almost hear the break in Christina's voice resonate all the way into the hearts of all viewing, drawing them further into her tale. The defense stands ready to be cross-examined. Kody's lawyer is quick, near smirking. Mrs. Brown, you indicate that you felt betrayed. But isn't it the case that you always knew your marriage was illegal? You had a religious ceremony. You recognized legal and religious were different, did you not? Christine straightens up. Her tone is more assertive now. I knew that piece of paper did not make me a wife. But I didn't know Kody would use that paper to play favorites. That head take all I gave him, then say it meant nothing because I didn't have that paper. That's the betrayal. The lawyer probes. But you remained in the marriage for years, knowing this. Doesn't that indicate you accepted the arrangement? Christine shakes her head. It means I held out hope for honesty. I held out hope the man I married would think of me as much as I thought of him. I held out hope he would uphold his word. Her voice is rising with determination. I didn't accept it. I lived with it. And there's a difference. A silence ensues. Even the defense attorney appears temporarily stunned. Because the truth is, acceptance and endurance aren't synonymous, and Christina's words make that starkly obvious. The judge demands order as whispers flow through the gallery. Christine descends from the stand, her legs shaking but her head held high. Then Janelle is summoned. She walks more steadily, her attitude more subdued. But her eyes blaze with the same fierce light as Christina's did. Mrs. Brown, her attorney starts. What does this case mean to you? Janelle breathes. It means equality. I thought for all these years that we were a partnership. That everything I made, every sacrifice I made, was for the benefit of the entire family. I didn't know that while I was paying bills, shopping for groceries, getting kids clothed, the legally wedded wife was the one with security. And that wife wasn't me. Her words hurt, not because they're screamed, but because they're said in such stark honesty. She goes on. I want responsibility. I want an acknowledgement that we weren't simply women who did something foolish. We were women who believed in a man who knew precisely what he was about. And here, in this moment, the audience knows this trial is not about marriage. It's about justice, and the battle for it has just begun. The defense attempts to shake her. Mrs. Brown, isn't it true that you profited from the family wealth? That you lived in shared houses, enjoyed shared resources, had the perks of this setup? Janelle nods serenely. Yes, I lived in communal houses. Yes, we shared money. But when the houses were sold, when the property was divided, when the accounts were depleted, whose names were on the deed? Whose names were on the titles? Whose names were on the bank accounts? Not mine. Not Christina's. Not Meri's. Only Robyn's. The jury shifts uncomfortably in their seats, eyes narrowing at the news. Even the judge leans back in his chair, brow furrowed. Robyn has her hand over her mouth, whispering to Kody. He doesn't glance at her. His face is set as if stone. The courtroom is claustrophobic, thick with the heavy air of too many secrets left unspoken. Christine and Janelle share a look from across the room. For the first time in years, their battle isn't against each other's silence. It's together. It's fierce. It's unmistakable. Because sometimes the most powerful coalitions come from the most profound betrayals. The judge calls for recess. The gavel drops, but this time it doesn't quiet the tempest. It only holds it in abeyance. Christine gasps as she stands up, her shoulders shaking with relief and exhaustion. Janelle puts a steadying hand on her arm. "We did good," she whispers. Christine nods, but her eyes dart toward Kody, who already strides out the door with Robyn following behind him. This fight is far from over. The courtroom returns from recess, and the air seems thicker than it did before. The audience shuffles back into their seats, reporters position their recorders, and the wives look at each other with strained expressions. There is something unspoken in the air, as if everyone realizes the most hurtful truths have not even begun to emerge yet. When the bailiff brings the session back to order, everyone's attention is focused at the plaintiff's table. Christine and Janelle are sitting straight-backed, poised, but obviously preparing for what's about to happen. They've spoken their mind, but there's another voice that has been waiting in the wings for far too long. "Meri Brown," the attorney calls. A ripple passes through the gallery. Murmurs, whispers. Meri is not officially a part of the lawsuit, but everyone is aware of her tale. The woman who was once Kody's first wife. The woman who remained when others departed, herself left behind. Meri climbs slowly. She's unsteady, nearly hesitant, in her steps as she makes her way to the stand. But her face is etched with determination. She takes the oath, sits down, and folds her hands daintily in her lap. There is complete silence for a moment. The lawyer speaks softly. "Mrs. Brown, will you explain your understanding of your marriage to Kody Brown to the court?" Her lips form a tight line before they open. "I thought I was his wife. Legally, spiritually. In every sense that counted." Her voice cracks. "I was first. I was there before the show, before the houses, before the cameras. And for years, I thought that counted for something." The room tilts forward. Even Christine and Janelle's eyes shine as they listen. Meri takes a deep breath. "But when Kody divorced me, legally, so he could marry Robyn, everything I believed in unraveled. He told me it was for adoption, for the safety of Robyn's children. I convinced myself it was temporary, that it didn't alter our relationship. But the fact is, it altered everything. After that, I wasn't a wife. I was a signature on a piece of paper he no longer needed." Gasps spread through the crowd. Robyn shakes her head, mouthing "That's not true," as Kody glares across the room, his jaw so tight the muscles spasm. And here, too, the tension crackles, because the woman who stood with him the longest has just demonstrated how easily she was cast aside. The attorney nods gravely. "Meri, did you ever get the sense that decision was for the best of the family?" Her laughter is bitter, cutting. "Good of the family? No. It was for Robyn. It was always for Robyn. I saw him alter after that. I saw him show her respect, devotion, partnership that he withheld from the rest of us. And I remained. God have mercy on me, I remained, in expectation that he would see me the same way, but he never did." The gallery buzzes, reporters writing in a frenzy. Christine clutches Janelle's hand beneath the table, both women struggling to hold back tears. The defense stands, poised to pounce. "Mrs. Brown, you acknowledge that you remained in the marriage following the legal divorce. Does that mean you accepted the arrangement? Does it confirm your grievance now is only regret and not deception?" Meri faces the attorney, her gaze cold. "It shows I was faithful. It shows I trusted my family, even my husband when he did not. Regret is an early departure. Betrayal is a late arrival." The courtroom freezes. Even the judge's gavel pauses. For sometimes the worst truths are told not in rage, but in soft, agonizing truth. The defense attorney goes on. "And still, Mrs. Brown, you did stay in the public eye. You benefited from the family's TV show. Doesn't that discredit your charges of betrayal?" Meri slowly shakes her head. The nights alone aren't caught on the cameras. The silence, the rejection, the years of pretending aren't caught on camera. They don't catch what it's like to sit across from a man who once loved you and see he only tolerates you. Her words sting harder than any attorney's question ever could. Tears fall down her face, but she refuses to glance away. "Not from Kody. Not anymore." The judge clears his throat, clearly affected. "Thank you, Mrs. Brown. You are free to be seated." Meri sits down, her footfalls firmer this time. Christine offers her a smile, squeezing her hand. For the first time in years, the three women have something without words, solidarity. Kody, though, can't remain quiet. He stands suddenly, his chair scraping the floor. "This is absurd," he exclaims loudly. They all knew. They all knew what this was, day one. They're playing victim, but they chose this lifestyle. They enjoyed it when the money was rolling in, when the cameras were running, when we were a family. And now, all of a sudden, in the bad guy? The judge bangs down his gavel. "Brown, you're going to stay quiet unless you're called to testify." But Kody's face is flushed, his chest pumping. He gestures at Christine. You left me. You walked out. And now you stand there acting like you didn't know how this went? You wanted out, and now you want to punish me for it. Christine stands half up from her seat, her eyes afire. I left because you left me years ago, Kody. You left me every time you picked her over us. Every time you made us think we were important, when you created a life with Robyn. The courtroom explodes. Reporters yell questions, the gallery hums like a beehive, and even the jury glances at each other with wide eyes. And amidst this tempest of allegations, the crowd leans in, for this is no longer simply testimony, it's bare confession spilling into the open. The judge slams the gavel once more, his voice firm. Order. If this goes on, I will have the courtroom evacuated. Silence descends hesitantly. Kody sits fuming, his knuckles clenched white. Robyn whispers desperately to him, but he does not react. The plaintiff's attorney takes the moment. Calmly, deliberately, he addresses the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, you've now heard it directly. Not from speculation, not from rumors, but from the wives themselves. They believed they were equals. They believed they were secure. And instead, they were discarded, one by one, as legal status became a weapon in the hands of the very man they trusted. The words cut deep. The jurors squirm in their seats, their eyes darting back and forth from Christine to Janelle to Meri, then to Kody and Robyn. The tale is no longer theoretical. It's intimate. It's bleeding on them. Because the moment betrayal is voiced, it can never be buried again. The judge orders a recess for lunch, but the trial already seems changed. The wives exit the courtroom together, heads held high, and Kody trails behind them, his anger simmering beneath the surface. Cameras pop and reporters yell, Christine, do you feel vindicated? Janelle, what do you want from this trial? Meri, do you regret staying all those years? Christine pauses, her voice calm. I don't regret thinking love existed. I regret thinking lies were real. The phrase rings out across microphones, across headlines, across the hearts of everyone viewing. Robyn buries her face in her hands, her tears now a sure thing, as Kody shoves through reporters, his face a storm of rage. And in the middle of it all, somewhere, the children stand and watch, children who have their own tales, their own scars, their own truths yet to be spoken. The trial is just starting, but the groundwork has been laid. Testimonies have ripped open wounds that cannot be sewn back up. Secrets have slipped through cracks that can't be plugged. And everyone awaits with bated breath for the most explosive revelations yet to come. Because in this courtroom, all voices are weapons, and the children's voices haven't even been raised yet. The courtroom is chillier today. Not only in temperature, but mood. The walls tower above, the lighting harsher, and the silence more oppressive than ever before. Each rustle of papers, each cough, each creak of the wooden benches booms as though the air itself has been stretched taut with tension. The case has already pushed emotions to the brink, but now, with Christine poised to lay out what she says is her most incriminating piece of evidence, each heartbeat sounds like a drum beating toward catastrophe. Christine sits rigidly at the witness stand. Her hands shake just a little, but she presses them together to maintain control. On the other side of the room, Robyn wipes her eyes with a tissue, but no tears escape. It's a performance. Some call it manipulation, others call it desperation. And Kody? He hunches over, his face contorted between anger and concern, not sure if he should glare at Christine or lean over to whisper reassurance to Robyn. Christina's lawyer moves forward, his voice firm but low. Your Honor, would like to enter Exhibit 47 into evidence. A record of finances, one that will clearly show beyond all doubt that Mrs. Robyn Brown knew about the secret accounts that were bleeding the family trust. A murmur runs through the gallery. Janelle steadies herself, her hands gripping the edge of the bench, as if to ready herself for an impact. Meri slowly shakes her head, her eyes narrowing at Robyn. For years, the women had suspected, but never had they witnessed it in black and white. Until now. The judge inclines, giving approval. Christina's lawyer holds a document aloft, then hands it to the bailiff, who carries it to the judge's bench. The papers rustle from hand to hand as each set of eyes in court tracks them. The judge gazes at it for a long moment of silence before he speaks. This record, it's a withdrawal from the family joint account, in the direction of an account in Robyn Brown's name. The amount, $150,000. Gasps cut through the room. Robyn shakes her head at once, waving her hands as if the paper is a falsehood itself. No, that's not right. She wails, voice breaking into high-pitched hysteria. That's not mine. It can't be. But Christine stands up, her voice more biting than ever before. You knew what you were doing, Robyn. You drained us financially. And while we were pinching pennies, you and Kody were stashing away the money that was ours. Don't move an inch. What Christine is about to say will rock this courtroom to its foundation. The judge bangs his gavel once. Order in the court. But does nothing to soothe the frenzy. The gallery hums with murmurs. $150,000? How could Robyn do that? Even the reporters in the back pews are fighting for notes. Robyn clutches Kody's arm frantically, whispering angrily, "Say something. Protect me." But Kody's face is frozen, jaw clenched so hard his neck veins strain. Even he is in doubt for once. The lawyer moves in beside Christine. "Mrs. Brown," he says gently, "tell the court how you came to get this record." Christine breathes deeply. She is aware of what follows next is risky, not only in terms of the law, but of emotions as well. Her voice shakes, but her words are firm. "I didn't want to believe it myself, but after months of research, after I asked questions and was ignored, I went to someone who knew the truth, someone who saw it all firsthand." She swivels around, her gaze darting towards the gallery. The whole courtroom gasps, wondering who she is referring to. And then the doors at the rear of the room creak and burst open as someone enters. Mouths fall open, heads turn. It's Gwen, Christina's daughter. The young woman strides forward reluctantly, her shoulders a combination of defiance and terror. The whispers swell, their faces straining to catch a glimpse of her. Christine clamps down on her lip, holding back tears. She hadn't wanted it to reach this point, but Gwen had insisted. The judge lifts an eyebrow. "And who is this?" Christine responds resolutely. "This is my daughter, Gwen Brown. She has testimony that will prove what these financial records already indicate." Robyn's face goes pale. No, she wouldn't," she barely whispers. But Gwen's face is unyielding. "Stay with me, because Gwen's testimony will strike like a hammer on all Robyn believed was secure." The bailiff administers the oath to Gwen, and she is soon seated at the witness stand, hands clasped, eyes flashing fleetingly in the direction of her father before focusing. Kody looks away, fidgeting, while Robyn watches her with large, tear-brimmed eyes that plead for silence. "Gwen," Christina's lawyer starts softly, "what did you see? What do you know?" Gwen swallows hard, her voice cracking initially. "I was at Dad and Robyn's house one evening. They thought I was asleep, but I heard them talking in the kitchen." Robyn was sobbing, saying she didn't want the other wives to know. "And Dad said not to worry. He said as long as the money was under her name, no one could get their hands on it. That it would secure their future, even if it meant that she had to betray everyone else." The courtroom erupts. Gasps, murmurs, and outright cries of astonishment ring out off the walls. Janelle bangs her hand on the bench, trying to keep down her rage. Meri buries her hand in her mouth in shock, tears running down her cheeks. Even Christine clamps her eyes shut, the agony of hearing it from her daughter slicing deep, even as she knew. Robyn violently shakes her head, her hair falling out of position. "She's lying," she screams, pointing a shaky finger at Gwen. "She hates me. She's always hated me. This is revenge, nothing more." Gwen doesn't hesitate, though. Her voice steadies, firm and unshakable. "I don't hate you, Robyn. I hate what you did. I hate that you smiled in our faces while stealing everything away from us behind closed doors. If you feel the tension now, wait until the next revelation. It only gets darker from here." The judge leans forward, his eyes looking over the top of his glasses. This testimony, coupled with the financial record, presents a disturbing picture. "Mrs. Brown, do you have any explanation for this?" Robyn's lips tremble, her voice stuttering with urgency. "It wasn't meant to be this way. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Kody said it was for us, for the kids. I thought." "Enough," Christine thunders, her voice ringing out stronger than the gavel that comes after. The courtroom erupts into stunned silence as she goes on. "You destroyed everything, Robyn. Not our finances, not our trust. You destroyed this family." Robyn's sobs echo through the room, though whether they are cries of guilt or cries of being cornered, no one can tell. Kody finally stands, slamming his palm against the table, his fury breaking loose. "This is a circus. You're all out to get us. Christine, you've poisoned everyone against Robyn, against me. And you're dragging our children into this." But his tirade just adds fuel to the fire. The judge bangs his gavel once more. "Brown, cool it, or I will hold you in contempt." The tension is acute. The courtroom is no longer merely a matter of money. It is about deception, about family destroyed, about naked truth lying out in the open after decades of lies. And then, Just when it seems the chaos can't grow any louder, Christine's attorney clears his throat. Your Honor, this is only the beginning. The records we've submitted are from last year. But what we've uncovered suggests the account has existed far longer, and the total missing funds may exceed $500,000. The room comes to a standstill. Nobody breathes. Robyn stares numbly ahead, as if the ground has given way beneath her feet. Kody slumps back in his chair, his bluster finally broken. Christine trembles, but maintains her chin held high. Gwen glares down her father, her jaw tightly clenched in silent outrage. The storm is only just unfolding. Don't look away. What comes next could shatter the family forever. The quiet in the courtroom is stifling. The fluorescent light above hums and flickers, casting a sickly light on all faces. Robyn sits at the witness stand, hands shaking as she twitches with a crumpled tissue. Kody rests his face in his hands at the defense table, his jaw muscles tight, eyes boring into hers like knives. Christine, Meri, and Janelle observe from the plaintiff's side, faces twisted in anger, hurt, and bitter vindication. The judge reclines in his chair, gaze heavy on Robyn. Mrs. Brown, you're sworn. The truth is not a choice here. Robyn's swallow is audible. Her voice breaks as she starts. I never meant to harm anyone. I only wanted a family. I thought I was keeping us safe. She speaks in a trembly, barely audible voice. But the courtroom listens, every broken syllable. Christina's lawyer advances. Protecting whom, Robyn? You, Kody? Or the ideal of a family that you dismantled piece by concealing funds and abusing trust? The room draws taut with tension. Robyn spurns her head back and forth, weeping. No, that isn't true. I didn't. She freezes, as if the sound of her own voice has choked her. Kody bangs his fist on the table. Don't you dare cave to their pressure. His voice thunders, echoing off the wooden walls. The bailiff gives him a warning look. The judge's gavel comes crashing down. Brown, calm down, or I will hold you in contempt. The room breaks into murmurs. Robyn's crying intensifies as she attempts to find her balance. The lawyer walks slowly, intently, before stopping her in her tracks. Robyn, you signed papers. You diverted family money into hidden accounts. You authorized spending while your sister wives were made promises and left with nothing. That isn't protection. That's betrayal. A gasp runs through the benches of the audience. Robyn's face goes white. She clutches the rail of the witness box as if she might faint. Her lips tremble. Kody said it was for us, that if the others ever quit, we'd be safe. I trusted him. I was just doing what he told me to do. The courtroom falls silent. Even Christine appears briefly stunned. Janelle slumps forward, muttering something under her breath, her fists clenching around a wad of notes. And there it is, just like that, the fissures opening wide. Robyn's turned the spotlight back on Kody. Kody sits up straight, his face red with rage. You lie. Don't you dare blame it on me. You knew what you were doing. You wanted this lifestyle. You wanted to force them out. You wanted me all to yourself. The words slice through the room like a knife. Robyn buries her head in her hands, sobbing uncontrollably. The judge raps the gavel once more. Order! Order! The crowd stirs with gasps of shock, but the judge speaks up. If I hear one more outburst, I will clear this courtroom. Christina's lawyer pounces. So let's be clear, Mrs. Brown. Are you saying Kody Brown was the one behind it all? That he told you to stash the money? Robyn's shoulders spasm wildly. She drops her hands, her swollen, red-rimmed eyes frantically darting to Kody as if pleading with him to save her. But Kody simply glares back, his coldness colder than ice. At last, she speaks, barely loud enough to be heard. Yes! Gasps erupt throughout the room. Christina's mouth opens in shock. Janelle puts a hand over her chest, her breathing ragged. Meri's eyes slant, not with shock, but with dark realization. Kody thumps his chair back as he rises. You coward. After all that I gave up, everything that I built, you would sacrifice me just to save yourself. The bailiff rushes forward, but Kody's voice continues to thunder. This is all lies. She's lying. They're all lying. The judge pounds the gavel with furious force. Mr. Brown, sit down. But Kody doesn't. His hands shake violently, veins bulging at his temples. Robyn collapses in her seat, sobbing uncontrollably, mouthing the same phrase over and over. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What nobody understands is that Robyn's breaking point is only the start, and that the very next testimony will turn everything on its head. The tension in the courtroom is like a storm waiting to erupt. Robyn's admission still lingers in the air, her words still resonating in every part of the room. Yes, Kody strides back and forth like a caged animal, his anger oozing from each step. Christine, Janelle, and Meri sit frozen, their gazes locked not only on him, but on the judge, on the cracks of honesty at last revealing themselves beneath years of deception. The judge pushes his glasses up, glaring down at the defense table. This court has been presented with allegations of fraud, of secret accounts, of betrayal so profound it has shattered not only a family, but business. Before we go any further, the plaintiffs have asked for one more witness. Gasps run through the gallery. Robyn's head whips up, eyes puffy. Kody mutters under his breath, "This is a circus." The bailiff pushes open the door. Everyone's gaze turns as Gwendolyn Brown approaches. A collective gasp runs through the courtroom. Christina's youngest daughter with Kody, tall and proud, holding a folder against her chest. Her face is serene, but her eyes are set ablaze with determination. Kody's face contorts with shock. No, she has no place here. Christine sits back, her hand across her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. Meri and Janelle look at each other, both of them recognizing what's going to happen. The judge nods. "Miss Brown, you have been sworn. You may testify." Gwen approaches the witness stand, her tone firm, though the gravity of the occasion is heavy. "I didn't intend to be here, Your Honor, but I can no longer remain silent. I discovered documents, emails, transfers, and records that validate everything my mom, Janelle, and Meri have shared. Money was diverted into secret accounts in the name of Robyn, yet established and managed by my father." She unfolds the folder, lifting up duplicates of bank statements. The attorney for the plaintiffs moves in, slipping them into evidence hastily. The room gasps once more. Gwen's gaze jumps to Robyn. "You knew what you were doing. You sobbed about loyalty as you stood by and let us struggle. As you stood by and let Mom decide between groceries and bills. And Dad," she stands, crossing eyes with Kody. Her voice becomes steely. "You betrayed us all. Not just the wives. Your children. Your grandchildren." Kody explodes forward, his voice cracking. "How dare you stand there and criticize me? You're just a kid." But Gwen doesn't budge. "I might be your daughter, but I've witnessed more of your deceptions than anybody else, and am not afraid of you anymore." The sentences dangle like flames in the air. Christina's tears stream freely, her shoulders heaving as she extends her hand to Janelle's. Meri closes her eyes, breathing a sigh as if decades of burden have at last been relieved. Robyn sinks further into the witness chair, her crying sounding empty, desperate. Kody's angry face distorts into a different expression, terror. For the first time, he is frozen, pinned. The judge brings up his gavel. This court will recess before closing arguments. But make no mistake, what has come to light today is damning. Extremely damning, in fact. The gavel comes crashing down. The noise is irrevocable, loud. The courtroom bursts out in gasps and shock. Christine hugs Gwen, whispering, "You were so brave." Meri and Janelle stand together, finally united. Over by the window, Robyn holds her tissue in her hand as if it's a lifeline, her eyes fixed on the ground as if it could just open its mouth and swallow her up. And Kody. He looks at his own fist, shaking, eyes scanning left and right as if hunting for an exit that no longer exists, because there isn't one. The storm has come, and the family he used to rule will never be the same again. And as flashes pop outside the courthouse, one thing is certain, the Sister Wives drama has only just begun its most incendiary chapter so far. The courtroom slowly cleared, but the tension stuck to the air like smoke that follows a blaze. Journalists poured out onto courthouse steps, snapping cameras, microphones thrust forward as they yelled questions no one yet dared to answer. Within, the Browns disbanded to corners, shards of what was a once harmonious family, now broken into survivors and enemies. Gwen, Janelle, and Christine sat in the hallway together, their arms around each other in a quiet display of solidarity. The younger children stood nearby, bewildered but observing their mothers closely. Meri kept a little distance, her hand against the wall, still shaking from bearing witness. Down the hall, Kody strode like a predator who's been denied his prey, his face red with anger. Robyn followed him, her tears smudging the makeup streaked across her cheeks. She reached out to touch his arm, but he pulled it away. "Don't touch me now," he growled, his voice cutting through the hallway like a blade. Everyone stood still. Reporters pricked their ears. The bailiffs looked at one another. Christine rose slowly, her tone low but incisive. "This is what you are, Kody. And this is why we are here." Kody turned to her, his eyes frantic. "You don't get it, any of you. I was protecting the family." Gwen intervened, her hand firm at her side. "No, Dad. You were protecting yourself. And you were willing to let all of us go under to do it." For the first time, Kody hesitated. His jaw clenched, but he could not speak. Robyn, on the other hand, had a voice. She took a step forward, speaking directly to Christine, Janelle, and Meri. "You don't know what it's like. The pressure, the fear of losing everything." Kody did what he thought was best. Christine shook her head, hurt flashing in her eyes. "Best for whom, Robyn? For us, surely not. While you enjoyed the large house, the nanny, the luxury, we had bare bank accounts and excuses." Meri at last spoke up, her voice quivering but resolute. "I remained silent so long, believing things might turn around. But they didn't. You two kept growing and the rest of us crumbled. That isn't marriage. That isn't family." The silence after her words was heavy, suffocating. Robyn turned her face away, her sobs quiet now, more like a broken child than the confident wife she once projected herself to be. Kody, on the other hand, clenched his fists and glared at the cameras outside the courtroom doors. "You all think this is the end? No, I'm not finished. Not by a long shot." He took off down the hallway, ignoring the reporters calling out his name. Robyn wavered, torn between pursuing him and remaining in place. In the end, she trailed behind, staggering after him, her tissue blowing to the floor like a white flag abandoned. Christine wheeled back to her daughter, embracing her. "You just changed everything," she breathed. Janelle nodded, her face both proud and worried. "But now it gets harder. He's not going to take this lying down." Meri crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing as she watched Kody disappear around the corner. "Good. Let him fight. Because for once, the truth is on our side." Later that night, the storm only grew louder. The news went viral on all major platforms. Tabloids emblazoned headlines. Sister Wives scandal. Secret accounts exposed. Talk shows featured arguments about betrayal, faith, and finances. Social media was abuzz with hashtags. #Justice for Christine, #Kody exposed, #Team Gwen. Excerpts from Gwen's testimony were shared worldwide. Viewers applauded her strength, dubbing her the voice of the silence. Others fantasized about Robyn's breakdown, focusing on each tear as if they held the answers to every question. For Christine, Janelle, and Meri, the sudden wave of public support was overwhelming. They gathered at Christine's home that evening, surrounded by children and grandkids, the air filled with both relief and exhaustion. "We're not just fighting for money anymore," Janelle said quietly, sipping her tea. "We're fighting for the truth, for our story to finally be seen." Christine nodded, her eyes on Gwen, who sat across the room scrolling through her phone, reading comments of encouragement. "And she's the reason the world is listening." Meri, sitting on the couch, leaned forward. "But don't forget, Kody's pride is bigger than any bank account. He's going to come back at us with everything he has." Christine sighed, her shoulders heavy. "Then let him. I'm done living in fear." While this was going on, at Kody and Robyn's home, the atmosphere was gloomier than ever before. Robyn sat at the dining table, gazing at the stack of bills, court documents, and unopened letters. Her hands trembled as she attempted to sort them out, but they slipped from her palms once again. Kody burst in, shutting the door behind him. "They embarrassed me today. My own daughter turned against me in front of the entire world." Robyn winced, her voice shaking. Perhaps we should come clean. Confess to the accounts, and tell them why I know." Kody bellowed, pounding his fist against the table. The papers flew about like autumn leaves blown by a tempest. "If I fall, the others fall with me. Do you understand? I'm not going to let Christine, Janelle, and Meri win." Robyn's tears welled up again, but she didn't go to him this time. She whispered instead, "Kody, what if they already have?" He was silent for the first time that evening. His anger tipped into something else, fear. And in the silence, Robyn knew the truth. The walls were collapsing, and there was nothing left to prop them up. Section 6 ends with the family waging war on two fronts, in the courtroom and in their homes. The next chapter will determine it all: who wins, who loses, and who finally breaks through. The courtroom had become quieter than it ever was. By now, the days of hours of testimony and cross-examination had taken away almost every layer of calmness. You could sense the cost etched on the faces of everyone. Christine was seated at the plaintiff's table, her hands clenched tightly around the leg of the chair. Janelle crept over to her, saying something under her breath that was intended to be uplifting, but Christina's eyes remained fixed on the front of the room. Robyn, seated across from her, appeared delicate, too delicate, barely holding back her tears as her defense mechanism. And Kody, he sat rigid, arms folded, a tempest brewing below. Judge Reynolds relaxed in his chair, tapping his pen on the wooden desk. We're getting down to the final arguments, but before that, Mr. Bennett, you said something about new evidence. Christina's attorney nodded. He strode to the projector stand, picking up a narrow brown envelope. His voice sliced through the stagnant courtroom air. This, Your Honor, is the final piece of the puzzle. It shows not only financial betrayal, but intent. And I have to caution, you can't go back once it's exposed. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Robyn jerked her head, muttered something to Kody, who shook his head grimly. Christine sat rigid, her breath locked in her throat. The attorney pushed the first page under the projector's light. On the screen behind him flashed an email thread. The date, 3 years ago. The sender, Robyn Brown. The subject line, securing the future. And then the words spilled across the screen. We can't let the others find out. If they see what we've built, they'll demand their share. But as long as the paperwork stays under your name, Kody, we're safe. They'll never suspect until it's too late. Robyn's hands shot up to her mouth. She shook her head wildly. No, that's not real. That's taken out of context. Christine stood up from her chair, voice shaking but resolute. You lied to us for years, saying you had no say over Kody's choices, that you never wanted money. And here it is. Evidence. Evidence that you schemed on this with him the whole time. If you've got your heart pounding right now, just put yourself in that courtroom. Would you be with Christine, or would you believe Robyn's tears? The gallery was electric. Some gasped in shock. Others spoke fiercely under their breath, some even glaring at Robyn as if she had betrayed them individually. Judge Reynolds banged his gavel hard. Order. I will have order in this courtroom. But the control had already been lost. This wasn't a trial anymore. It was a reckoning. Robyn's lawyer attempted to salvage what was left of the situation. He stood up hastily, his voice aggressive and defensive. Your Honor, these emails were subject to modification. We can't rely on them without authentication. Christina's attorney was prepared. He produced a flash drive. Done already. These emails were accessed straight from server backups, authenticated by a third-party forensic expert. They are real, Your Honor. The gravity of those words fell over the courtroom. Even the judge's face contorted into something serious, as if he too was coming to understand the consequences. Robyn hunched over, crying freely now. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was terrified. I thought if I didn't help to guard what we had, everything would break down. I just didn't want to lose Kody's love. I didn't want to lose everything like the others did. Her voice broke over the word love, and for 1 second, pity danced in Christina's eyes. But that too was gone, hardened by years of anger over again. Christine rose from her chair, her voice even. Robyn, we all lost something. But you ensured we lost more. You weren't defending love, you were defending greed. And you knew that. Viewers, this is where everything tilts. Would you forgive Robyn if she said fear motivated her, or do you see it as premeditated betrayal? The silence that was Christina's response was like a stone hitting a calm pond. All eyes were on Robyn, waiting for a response, waiting to see if she would stand up in outrage or completely break down. But it was not Robyn who ended the silence. It was Kody. He slapped his hand on the defense table, his voice thundering. Enough. This isn't all her fault. I made those decisions. I trusted her because she was the only one left standing with me. Don't you get it? None of you wanted me anymore. Robyn did. And I held on to that. Maybe I made mistakes, fine. But don't you dare pretend you're saints. Christine spun to him, her words slicing. You still don't understand, do you? It was never a matter of love. It was a matter of control. Of making us feel little so you could feel huge. And now the truth has arrived, in black and white. The tension bubbled, a wave building to crash over all the people in the room. The judge's face set, his voice firm. That's enough from all of you. Tomorrow morning, we will continue for closing arguments. Until then, court is adjourned. His gavel came down like thunder. As the people stood, the atmosphere was intolerable. Anger, shock, disbelief, betrayal. Christine and Janelle stood firm, shoulder to shoulder. Robyn leaned against her chair, tears streaming down her face, mouthing apologies that no one appeared to be listening to. Kody charged out of the room, his face crimson, cursing under his breath, his universe shattering in ways even he was powerless to stem. And with it all hanging in the balance, the question hovered in the air, unspoken but weighing heavily upon every heart in that room. What would the ultimate decision bring? Trial isn't over yet, but after all this revelation, do you believe Christine has finally won the victory, or will Robyn discover one final defense to cling to everything? The courtroom is tense as a volcano on the brink of eruption. There is oppressive silence as everyone waits for the verdict. Kody's jaw is clenched tightly, his knuckles white as he grips the table, while Robyn holds on to his arm, saying something under her breath that only he can hear, her eyes flitting nervously towards Christine, who stands firm and unmoved. Meri and Janelle look at each other, their faces inscrutable but heavy with years of fatigue and betrayal. The judge enters, robe flowing as he takes the bench, and the clerk bellows out, "All rise." The noise cuts through the courtroom like thunder. Everyone in the room stands up, their hearts pounding in lockstep with the moment. This is it. Years of devotion, subterfuge, manipulation, and heartbreak are about to be weighed, not merely by the law, but by history. As the judge starts to speak, the camera of our mind zooms in close on Christine. Her eyes are shining with determination and suffering. She mutters under her breath, "This isn't just for me. This is for all of us." And that one line lingers in the air, like a torch being passed to every woman who has ever been silenced. The judge clears his throat. His voice is firm, serious. Upon deliberate consideration of the testimonies, the evidence submitted, and the account records submitted, this court declares Kody Brown and Robyn Brown guilty of fraudulent concealment, financial manipulation, and fiduciary breach within the family partnership. Gasps circulate through the air. Robyn emits a strangled scream, leaning against Kody, who is standstill, his face white with shock. He had thought, even up to now, that he could sweet-talk his way out of it. That charm, intimidation, or plain stubbornness would rescue him. But no amount of shouting and bluster can protect him now. Christine shuts her eyes, a lone tear tracing its way down her cheek, not of sadness, but of letting go. Janelle holds her hand beneath the table, and for the first time in a long time, they both smile. Meri lets out a deep breath, a burden removed from her shoulders she never knew she still bore. The judge goes on, his words cutting like a blade. Restitution shall be paid to the aggrieved parties, and property heretofore hidden shall be sold. This court does hereby declare the money claims of Christine Brown, Janelle Brown, and Meri Brown to be legitimate and just. It's a win, yes, but it's also a sentence. Robyn weeps openly, mascara running down her face. She holds onto Kody's sleeve, crying wildly, "What do we do now? What do we do now?" But Kody says nothing. For the first time, the man with an answer for everything has none. His empire, his control, his carefully constructed illusion has broken before the world. Christine, though, doesn't smirk. She rises, firm and grounded, and confronts Kody one last time. Her tone doesn't rise in ire, it levels in reality. "We weren't ever your property, Kody. We were your family. And you destroyed it." Every person in the courtroom senses that line like a sledgehammer crashing against rock. Even the judge hesitates a moment, as if those words weighed more than his decision. The gavel comes down once. This court is adjourned. Silence holds the room, but it's the kind of silence that vibrates with freedom. Christine heads out first, chin lifted high, the sunlight from the courthouse door illuminating her hair as if the world itself is celebrating her win. Janelle and then Meri follow, the three women standing side by side, not as shattered remnants of a family, but as survivors who stood up to be heard. Behind them, Kody sits, still, the echo of the gavel's rings still resonating in his ears. Robyn hides her face in her hands, crying hysterically. The former powerful ruler of a polygamous empire is left in shambles, a warning tale of greed and duplicity. And outside, there are reporters dashing toward Christine, cameras rolling, microphones flashing. But Christine does not pause for them. She turns to Meri and Janelle and speaks low but firmly, "This is not the ending of his book. This is the start of ours." And in that instant, the torch is passed. The women who were silenced now script their own ending. Now let me ask you this. After all the things you've learned in this courtroom, whose camp are you really standing with, Kody and Robyn's hopeless defense, or the wives who finally made themselves heard? Tell me in the comments below, because your voice here counts as much as theirs.